Bears blog boys, you know it all, computer analytic, geeky nerds. Michael Schneider, Tom Cavanaugh, the Bear blog boys, know-it-alls, doing some podcast somewhere. Nobody wants to hear you, geeks. You pencil-pushing, skinny jean wearing geeks, you.
Coming to you live from our mom's basement, this is the Bears Blog Boys podcast. I'm your co-host, Tom Cavanaugh, here with my good buddy and other co-host, Michael Schneider. We are in store for a huge game. This is the biggest Bears game I can remember, since like the 2018 season, right? Like this is giving like Rams versus Bears vibes where the Bears were basically not playing for the playoffs, but they were playing for seeding in that game. Everyone kind of knew they were making the playoffs. This kind of feels the same way. However, it's against their long opponent or rival in the Packers for the NFC North, for control of the NFC North. So, buddy, how are you doing and how are you feeling heading into such a huge Bears matchup?
No, I'm feeling good, Tom. I appreciate you asking. I can hear the enthusiasm in your voice. You're fired up about this. I'm fired up about it. Hey, we beat the Eagles last week, and, we're still not getting a lot of respect across the league. I think we are 7-point underdogs in this game. So, here, it is another statement game. You take care of business on the road in Lambeau, the start of the Ben Johnson era. The implications are huge. I'm just fired up thinking about it. My hairs are standing up just talking about it. I couldn't be more fired up for this matchup. And then just start this almost like a legacy game, right? Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, that first Packers matchup with the implications just so huge. So, yeah, I'm fired up about it.
Yeah, it is such a huge matchup. It's Ben Johnson's first matchup against the Packers, which, there's been a kind of a long rivalry between him and the Packers based on what he said when he was hired. That has been circling around Packers media, and Packers fans are definitely talking about that a lot. Packers players have even referenced it. So, yeah, this is a huge game with a ton on the line. One of the most meaningful Bears-Packers games in quite some time. It feels like every time the Bears and Packers have met late in the season, the Bears have been out of playoff hopes, and the games really haven't meant much outside of bragging rights and who's the better team on that day. But this one actually is a lot more meaningful because both teams are at the top of their division. They're playing for control. The Bears are definitely counted out, like you said, 7-point underdogs on the road. Some of that makes sense. 7 is a pretty large line for a 9-3 team.
Right.
So we'll see about if the Bears can come through on, if they win this game, we'll see is what I mean, that if they're going to be taken more seriously by the markets, by Vegas, because it still seems like there's a lot of doubters out there.
Yeah, and I don't get it, right? I understand prior to the Eagles, did they win a kind of like a lot of fluky games? Again, you still should get credit for finishing games out. But the Eagles, defending Super Bowl champs, good roster, good quarterback, great coaching, and they just dominated them from start to finish on the road. I just didn't expect the line to be that big for, again, first seed, 9-3, just took care of business. So, I don't know. I feel it's a little bit disrespected as a Bears fan. So, again, adds a little bit more fuel to the fire, and I hope they just again take care of business.
Yeah, I wonder what that line says about the Bears. Is that saying more about the Bears or saying more about the Packers? Does Vegas respect the Packers that much that they're putting them that highly? Because when you look at all the metrics, on where the Packers rank as a team, they are pretty damn good. I hate to give them any credit, but it's hard not to respect what I'm always going to respect worthy opponents, credible opponents, and the Packers are most definitely that. They're the most efficient passing team currently right now, if you just look at an EPA per play perspective. So who knows if this says more about the Bears than the Packers. The Packers are favored in a lot of their games. 7 points is a big line. But why don't we talk about what the Bears need to do to win this game, Snyder? And we can start off with the offense. And when I'm looking at what the Bears It's funny that the Bears ran the ball really well last week, and I expected them to run the ball a lot based on the defense they were playing against. They're playing against a team that plays pass first. They're playing a bunch of too high shells. This is the polar opposite with the Packers. They are one of the most they defend the run with some of the heaviest boxes in the NFL. They usually keep a safety down. They're a heavy cover 3 team. So they're going to be getting a total different coverage menu, just defensive game plan. It's still a very zone heavy team, unlike the Eagles, but it's different coverages. It's different ways to defend the run. And the Packers have been one of the best run defending teams in the NFL. So that, to me, Snyder, obviously that matchup on who's going to be better in the trenches. Can the Bears still establish the run and run the ball efficiently against a better Packers run defense, I would say, than the Eagles? But ultimately, Snyder, in this game, I think the determining factor will be if the Bears passing game can get on track. That's really what I want to see. Obviously, the Packers defense has a vaunted pass rush, but this is a game I don't want to see the Bears passing game shoot itself in the foot. I don't want to see mistakes. If the Packers are just better than you and you can't block them up, okay, that's one thing. But this is a game you can't be missing throws. This is a game where guys can't be in the wrong places in their routes. This is a game where all those things have to be ironed out for 4 quarters if the Bears really want to make some noise and win this game.
Yeah, hey, I mean, I think Ben Johnson said it best. On paper, this is probably the most talented defense that the Bears have seen thus far. I mean, hey, their front 7 is nasty. I mean, Micah Parsons, arguably the best pass rusher in the NFL, him or Myles Garrett. And then, hey, Rashawn Gary, not of that status, but he's very, very productive. Devontae Wyatt's having his best year. Then, like, their linebackers, at least against the run and at least, like, shedding blocks, like Adrian Cooper, Clay Walker, they're very violent guys to where it's like, hey, you probably not a game, like you said, you could maybe lean on the run as much, but you're still going to need them to produce because you can't be in those 2nd and longs, 3rd and longs. Then you got Micah Parsons come in, Rashawn Gary come in, and then you still do have some interior pressure from Devontae Wyatt, who's Carl Brooks. Like they have dudes there and they have depth there to keep guys fresh. So it's gonna be a very tough matchup again for both the run, for the pass game. Again, you're just gonna have to keep yourself in a lot of neutral situations.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that's going to be a huge key, Snyder, and whether or not the Bears can stay ahead of the sticks, be staying efficient, not making mistakes, not letting this pass rush tee off. And what the Packers, I think, do really well with Micah Parsons, not only is he just a stud and can win basically anywhere you align him, but they do get him favorable matchups. He moves all across the line of scrimmage. He's one of the most versatile pass rushers. And the Packers do a really good job of kind of building plays around him. So when they know that the offense has to slide their protections and give him extra attention, they're going to kind of take advantage of that with other matchups, bringing up different blitzes. They don't blitz a whole lot, but they will do a lot of simulated pressures around Micah Parsons because they know he requires so much attention from offenses. And like that's why when we have, I don't mean to change the subject, Snyder, but that's when we talk about what the Bears defensive line lacks. It's this kind of player that allows you to do all these cool things, right? Because yes, the Packers have some other talented players, but this defensive line was really, really struggling before they got Micah Parsons, and he has changed everything, right? He's changed everything. He's made everyone's life easier, and he's allowed their defensive coordinator to just be more creative with what they're able to bring. And the different simulated pressure looks are way more effective because you know exactly who the team you're playing against is trying to game plan for, right? They're trying to send double teams. They're trying to send chip help. They're trying to send extra tight ends to slow down Micah Parsons. And by doing that, you have such a mismatch in terms of bringing extra bodies from the opposite side or just getting Rashawn Gary one-on-ones, Devontae Wyatt, who won't be playing in this game, one-on-one. So, yeah, that's kind of what the Packers want to do. They want to base everything around Micah Parsons. And once they know you have to show him extra attention, they're going to get really creative behind that. They've been doing that as of late a lot more than they did earlier in the season, and it's been really effective. If you watch that Lions game, I think that was a really good example on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I've always said Micah Parsons is the best non-football player in the NFL. I know Myles Garrett is going to be the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year, but Micah Parsons just feel for the game of football is one of the best I've seen. I mean, hey, they make that trade and they get everything they pay. He got 14 sacks. He's number 3 in total pressures with 67. He's has a pass rush win rate of 25%. Like those are just elite numbers that move the needle for a defense. Opens up so much more for the defensive line, just makes it so much tougher to play offense. And again, you better not shoot yourself in the foot and end up being in a second and long, third and long, because they're just going to make you pay. And that's what he's paid to do. He's paid to put you in those situations, and he's paid to just feast when you are in that situation. So again, this is a game where you're gonna have to have just mistake-free ball and just keep yourself in positive situations. Be in those second and medium, second and shorts, and then it'll keep them just on their heels, like guessing, and don't let them control any drive by shooting yourself in the foot. I think that's going to be major key.
100%. And I think, getting the run game going, staying in neutral game scripts, not allowing them to just tee off is the ways you slow down Micah Parsons. Because if you can use play action and make him, hesitate, stop and play the run, that just kind of makes it easier for your offensive line. And it's really important that the Bears can stay in that kind of game script because that's where they're at their best. Their offensive line has played a hell of a lot better than it's maybe ever played in our lifetime. Maybe like Lovie Smith era is like the best offensive line outside of how they're playing right now. But they're not like this amazing drop back passing team across the board. Offensive line, quarterback, the receivers are still growing and learning in this offense. So that's not the situations you want to be in. And it's funny that we're talking about how vaunted this Packers pass rush is. It's really Micah Parsons and just some ancillary pieces. But their secondary can be get after, right? Like that's definitely the weakness of this defense. They're very aggressive. They trust that pass rush. They're gonna jump on routes. That's kind of the way they play, and they can pay for that. If you're able to block it up long enough, they can pay for that for sure. I think that's where they're weak. Their corners are definitely not great. I have some stats up here right now. Just give me 1 second to pull them up. So the Packers, if you're just looking at their pass defense, they're, again, a lot better against the run. They're the 4th best defense in EPA per rush allowed, but they're 18th overall. So they're like middle of the pack pass defense. And they're 29th in out wide targets. So again, I think that plays really heavily into the Bears' favor. Well, at least right now it does. Rome Odunze's status is still kind of up in the air right now. We'll talk about that in a bit here. And they're 24th in passes over 2.5 seconds, which I thought was interesting, Snyder, given that this is a team that has a really good pass rush and they want to make you play quicker. But again, they don't blitz, right? They don't like force your hand if they're not winning up front. They don't blitz a whole lot. And then also I thought was interesting, they're 32nd in passes, 10 to 19 yards. So they're like the worst defense at defending intermediate passes when you're able to get them off. So again, I think the crux of this game and where it's going to be determined is, can you block them up long enough? Can you stay neutral in game scripts? Can you use play action to kind of slow down their pass rush? And if you can, the Bears just have to hit the ones that are there. Guys have to be in the right spot because we can't have the misses or just the miscommunications, however you want to define it. In the past 2 games in the passing game, the Steelers game and the Eagles game, where there's just like missed throws, they're leaving throws in the field. We cannot have those in this game if the Bears want to win because the Packers will be susceptible. The throws will be there to be had. If you can block it up long enough, which I think the Bears will be able to on the early downs with the earlier down offense. I think those throws will be there. It's just whether or not can the Bears execute because they haven't been the cleanest team from everyone involved in that regard. So I think that's going to really be where the Bears offense is made or broken.
No doubt about it. I mean, here I'm looking at like their corner, and then it's funny on Thanksgiving I'm watching the Packers-Lions game with my family, and I don't know what it is, but every like Chicago area family, someone in their family, their uncle, cousin, grandpa, one of them is a Packers fan for whatever reason. I'll never understand it, but my uncle is a diehard Packers fan, and then same thing with my grandfather, and then He's a little bit of casual, but he got up. He's like, man, that Keyshawn Nixon. Every time they throw it his way, someone's wide open. That guy is the worst corner I've ever seen in my life, and it just kind of stuck with me. Their secondary, as far as like their corners, definitely like not really, not really too talented there, right? Definitely susceptible to getting attacked there. So again, I think we have the dudes again. Hopefully, Rome's healthy. Hopefully, Caleb Williams um, is on point. And we can definitely attack the secondary outside of Xavier McKinney. Not too many heavy hitters in that secondary.
Yeah, 100%. And again, this is a defense that doesn't want to expose those guys a whole lot. They play a ton of zone coverage. I think like the most in the NFL. They do a lot of different looks. It's not like they just stay in the same type of like cover two and stuff like that. So right now they only play 17% of their snaps in cover one, which is man coverage. They've only zero blitz, 1%. So again, very low man team, 18% in cover two, 33% in cover three, 11% of cover four, and 16% of cover six. So they mix it up quite a bit. It's not like they're just sitting back and playing the same coverages like we saw with the Steelers game. I thought that was just like a huge schematic advantage in the Bears' favor. Caleb will have to do some deciphering, but I trust that he's going to be able to do that. His eyes have been pretty good this year. It's just the accuracy sometimes is hit or miss. But I think that where this game will be won is in that intermediate part of the field, which we know that's kind of where he wants to throw it anyway. That's where this offense wants to attack. And we'll see if they're going to be able to do that. Rome, I think his health will be huge in this game. Will he be able to play? We know he's been dealing with that foot issue basically all season long, I think since the Ravens game. And Steiner, I totally agree. The cornerbacks are definitely not a great group. Keyshawn Nixon has been torched quite a bit. That Cowboys game, George Pickens got the better hand of him quite a few times going back and watching that game. So definitely want to see him get targeted. If Rome is playing, I think that's a good matchup to exploit a bigger receiver against a smaller corner. But across the board, this is a team that's going to be really aggressive in the back end. And what I mean by that is they're going to jump on routes. They're going to you can kind of get them with double moves and stuff like that. I want to see if the Bears want to attack them that way. They've been pretty good at defending deep passes, but again, it's hard to get off deep passes against a pass rush that is as good as the Packers. So we'll see the game plan. I think that the intermediate portions, though, that's going to be where you want to attack this defense. And also, Snyder, I will also say that going back and watching, I've only watched like a handful of games. I think Quay Walker is a guy you also really want to target in the run, both in the run game and the pass game. The Panthers, they've had the most success running against the Packers all year long. And a lot of that was just getting Quay Walker out of position. It was kind of similar to what the Bears were doing against the Eagles, all the motion, all the pulling linemen. I think if you do that kind of stuff against Quay Walker, he's always like a tick slow to react. And guys are usually just up into the second level blocking him. I think he's definitely a huge target. You want to attack in the run game and then kind of build your play action pass game off of that, right? Because if you can get his head spinning, that leaves a huge void in the middle of the field. And again, that's something the Bears should probably want to tap into if I were them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so you love having Ben Johnson and as talented as like the front seven the fans is for the Packers. When you have Ben Johnson doing the things that he did against the Eagles, those like exotic formations where you got your lineman pulling and then you got your guys in motion and then you're rolling out in the opposite direction and or then sometimes it's actually a handoff or it's a play action. It just keeps the defense on their heels. But ultimately, when you have a head coach who's just that intuitive, that creative, so unpredictable, then you just have so many different pass catchers that a defense isn't keying on. You're just so not predictable, and having all that, it just raises the floor of your team as a whole and how you compete. So it's like, again, the Eagles were a damn good defense, well-coached defense, and the Bears, like, didn't seem bothered by it. And I'm not saying overlook any opponent or anything, but I'm just saying it's just like it raises the floor, and you feel the best you've ever felt as a Bears fan that you have an answer for some of these defenses, because your head coach puts the team in a position to really compete with anybody because he's just such an offensive mastermind, really.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think that's been very apparent in the past 2 games. Like just like that game plan coming in with advantages on where to attack, where this defense is weak. We saw that with the Steelers game. Like they just could not stop those intermediate passes. And then with the Eagles, obviously that what the Bears were able to do in the run game and kind of the tells that they had on clearing the box out from the Eagles. Yeah, that's why you hired Ben Johnson, right? Like he's going to give you those advantages. I'm curious to see where that advantage lies in his eyes against a good Packers defense. I think it's going to be a more pass-heavy game script, if I had to guess, because I'm not saying, again, the Packers' pass defense is bad, but their secondary is where they're weak. No doubt about it. Like, that is where their weaknesses lie. And they did lose Devontae Wyatt, too, so maybe they want to take advantage of that in the run game. But Devontae Wyatt was, like, never, like, this, like, stud run defender. He's more of a pass rusher anyway. So yeah, I'm curious to see where those advantages lie. Quay Walker stood out big time to me. Guys like Keyshawn Nixon for sure. Another one. I'm curious to see where Ben Johnson wants to tap in, but it won't matter, Snyder, if this passing game isn't clicking, and that's why we talked about it right last week. Like it's great that the Bears are winning games in spite of their passing game. It's great that they have those different clubs in the bag to win these games in different ways. But ultimately, like if the Bears are going to be taken seriously, their passing game needs to get a lot better. And again, I'm not pinning that on anybody. Ben Johnson didn't pin it on anybody. It's a group effort, right? Guys need to be where they're supposed to be, and the quarterback needs to be more accurate, just flat out. And it's going to be a make or break. Like I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's going to be a make or break element of this game. Can this passing game be better? And if it can, I think the Bears have a real shot at winning this.
It's going to be a make or break, not only in this game, or how far the Bears take it this season,
yes.
Right? Like you have a high floor because of the head coach, the running game. Again, I know it's not really sustainable, but your defense finds the ball week in and week out, and it's just been an absolute fun ride with that. But if you want to get ahead of games early, if you want to score on the first possession, if you do that and you get a stop, and now, hey, I'm in a position to be up 2 possessions early in the first quarter. Can your passing attack click to put yourself in those situations where you're in control of the game, you're in control of the clock, you're doing exactly what you want to do? And if you could establish that early into a game, you could, instead of having these like 1-score wins that are dependent on like the last couple of drives, solving that passing attack, being on the same page as the wide receiver, being accurate, that's how you are going to take control of those games early on. And it just unlocks another part of this offense that could make it one of the best in the league, that you could compete with anyone, and not just compete. I'm talking you could win in dominant fashion. And again, I'm not taking anything away from like that Eagles win, right? Because they dominated them from start to finish. But I am talking about just like unlocking the whole entire system to where, you're just going to be totally in control of a defense because there's just too many ways that we can hit you. So again, the upside in the potential, it's still untapped, right? Like there's still so much more that can make this offense even more dominant.
For sure. They have not hit their stride yet. Like I think the best is still yet to come. It's just, when is that going to come? Is it going to come at the end of the season? Is it going to come now? Or are we going to have to wait for next year? Right. Like that's where I'm at. And I think in order to win this game, they're going to need it to come now, at least one of their better performances. I'm not saying it's going to be throughout, carry out throughout the season, but one of their better performances for sure, because we can transition to the Packers offense, Snyder. That's where I worry the most about this matchup. The Packers offense, Bears fans troll Jordan Love. He's been very good this season. The Packers passing offense has been very good. Their offensive line hasn't been what they've wanted it to be based on the investments that they've made. I think that's been the most struggling unit. But ironically, the Bears' defensive line has been just as disappointing, right? So it's like, who can be less disappointing? But ultimately, Snyder, we know what the Bears want to do on defense. They're going to want to blitz. They're going to want to be aggressive. And unfortunately, the Packers are the best passing offense against the blitz. So where this game is won and lost on defense is, how do you pressure Jordan Love? Because he's really good at avoiding sacks. He would rather give his players chances than to take a sack. And the Bears, I don't think, are going to be able to generate a pass rush with 4 in this game. Maybe I'm wrong. Their tackles are their strength, the Packers, and I don't know, the Bears' edge rushers are not really their strength. It's more Gervin Dexter. Can Gervin Dexter take over this game? Can he give their interior offensive line that's been struggling fits? But if the Bears do want to be more aggressive and blitz more, I'm curious to see how that works out for them, because it hasn't worked out for a lot of teams across the league. The Packers have been pretty deadly against the blitz this year.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Love, I think he is one of like the least appreciated quarterbacks across the NFL. You talk to a Bears fan, they still think he's trash. Whatever it is, this guy this year, I think he missed a couple games, but his 19 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, 67 completion percentage. And the guy, he makes throws, right? He makes throws on the run. He extends plays by avoiding pressures. I'm not saying he is, great or an elite quarterback, but he's damn good. He's a professional. He's a seasoned vet. He has so much experience with LaFleur, probably knows the system like the back of his hand. And I don't think that should ever be like taken lightly, right? The guy, I think, deserves a lot more credit. And, given the lack of talent at, receivers, how him and LaFleur consistently make it work, being one of the most productive offenses in the NFL, is something that's, again, not really talked about, not really appreciated. It's actually crazy. Like, anytime the Packers have like one rough game or anything like that, like they talk about like, okay, like I think it's time to move on from LaFleur.
Yeah,
Love isn't worth the money. And I'm just like, dude, you guys don't know how good you have it, because there's probably about 20 plus teams in the NFL who would love that sustainability, given the lack of talent at pass catchers they've always had, that Jordan Love and LaFleur have. Like they're a good duo. Jordan Love is a good quarterback. I know he has some of his limitations, but at the same time, like, don't overlook him. Give him his credit as a good quarterback. He's just as good as a Jared Goff. Like as far as like in the division, as far as like running the operation, being a seasoned pro. Again, a guy that you can't really blitz, a guy that you can't get all day to throw, because he's gonna make you pay. He is that season of a vet. He is a damn good quarterback, in my opinion. So again, I think Jordan Love, you should never look over.
Yeah, you definitely should not look over. I think he's played his best football this season for sure. And the Packers do a great job of playing towards his strengths. What the Packers ultimately want to do is they want to run the ball a lot, and then they want to take shots. They're kind of like the Bears, but I think the Bears are more like catch and run shots, whereas the Packers want to take shots over your head. They want to throw it down the field. They're one of the most aggressive passing teams in the NFL. And Jordan Love's been really good at that this year. So I don't know what the like game plan is on the Bears' sake. Like, do you want to be more aggressive? Do you want to take more chances? Do you want to blitz a little bit more? I kind of come back to, even though the Lions just got cooked in man coverage, do the Bears want to play a little bit more man coverage? They got Kyler Gordon back. They got Jalen Johnson back. I don't know if Tyreek Stevenson will be back in this game, but like, your strength is definitely in your secondary. Your strength is not in your front. So sit back and play zone. I don't love that. Like, I think if you're going to do that, you're going to have to bring extra bodies to at least try to quicken Jordan Love's clock and not just allow him to sit back there all day. Because if you just bring 4 all day long, I think it's going to be a long game for this Bears defense. And I don't think they will do that. But do you want to be a little bit more aggressive with your blitzes? Do you want to be a little bit more aggressive in your coverages? Do you want to play more man coverage? I'm curious to see if that is the case. The Lions played a ton of man last week and they got absolutely torched. So maybe that's not the best answer. I don't know what is. I think sometimes you can the best way I can describe where the Packers offense is kind of stalled out from a passing perspective. Sometimes you can just not bait Jordan Love into dumb decisions, but if you take away enough of his first couple looks, he'll just kind of try to force throws in there, force throws down the field. We saw that against the Panthers. He threw some pretty boneheaded interceptions in that game. I don't know if he threw multiple or one, but the one he did, can the Bears take advantage of those plays? Like, are you going to get one of those plays a game and keep this turnover run going? Because this has been a really efficient offense. I don't have a great answer on how the Bears can really give this Packers offense a lot of trouble. I think that's the matchup I'm definitely most worried about.
You know what's crazy, Tom? If I had to if I ever wanted to get in an argument with a Packers fan, I'm talking about the receiving core, right?
Yeah.
And here, Tucker Kraft, he's been out for a few games now. As far as pass catchers, isn't it funny that he actually leads their team in missed tackles forced, right? And through this, him being out, he leads their team in yards per route run. He leads their team in yards after the catch. This is all from the tight end, who again has been out for at least 3 or 4 games time around there. Still leads all of them, right? Their wide receivers, and I gotta give credit to Matt LaFleur, right? The fact that him and Jordan Love can make this pass catching unit productive, score points, have one of the highest EPAs in the league. That's how I don't get why Packers fans don't give them credit for making it do what they have out there. I mean, here, Romeo Doubs is their leading target haver. And don't get me wrong, I think he's a fine depth guy. He's a solid ass player. But through 12 games of the season, how are they so low? How is their tight end, who's been out for a few games, their running back, how do they lead in yards after the catch, missed tackles forced, yards per route run, from any other of the pass catchers? I mean, here on the season, Dobbs, 125 yards after the catch. Golden, 88 yards. Wicks, 64. Watson, 37. I know he's been hurt. None of them have a yards per route run over 1.70. Missed tackles forced as far afterwards. Romeo Doubs leads it with 4, Golden 3, Dontavian Wicks 3. So they don't have that any needle moving talent, game breaking ability from those pass catchers as well. So, and I think the Bears, as far as a cornerback matchup, could really clamp them down even more. So again, that's probably my biggest nitpick about this Packers team as a whole is other than Josh Jacobs and when Tucker Kraft was healthy, they don't really have dudes, needle moving dudes that really affect that passing attack.
Yeah, Steiner, it's so funny that you bring up all those stats, and it's so funny how Tucker Kraft still leads them in mostly all of them, and he's been out since week 9 against the Panthers. Yeah, so Steiner, I'll take that a step further. I'm looking at their receiving options against man coverage, and Tucker Kraft still leads this team in receptions against man coverage. He still leads them in yards per route run against man coverage. He had a 4.16 yards per route run against man coverage. Dontavian Wicks is the only other receiver over 1 yard, over 2 yards. So again, it's been a really weird receiving core that I think they're used exactly how they should. But if you can get them to try to play outside of themselves, I think that's where you can have, and I don't even know if that's the right way to frame this. I'm just saying that they're all really slotted into the roles that they should be, and they're limited past those roles. Romeo Doubs is the perfect example, sacrificial X receiver who can make some contested catches, win on underneath routes every now and then. He's not going to torch you down the field. Yeah. But yeah, there's a bunch of those guys I think that are similar tiers. I think Dontavian Wicks is probably their best man beater. If you just look at statistically, he's been their best man beating receiver this year. So on those man coverage downs, I think hit the matchup between him and Kyler Gordon, which is who I would assume would see a lot of Dontavian Wicks. He plays a lot in the slot. that would be the one to watch out for, and who wins that matchup on those man coverage downs is probably going to determine a lot in this game. But I like Kyler Gordon in that matchup. I'm not saying Dontavian Wicks is a bad player. I just think that Kyler Gordon, he's one of the Bears' best players. And yeah, that's a matchup I think he would have to win if the Bears want to take that approach. It's so hard though, because they have guys with real deal speed. Matthew Golden hasn't shown much this year, but he has that speed. Christian Watson has that speed. And if you are aggressive, you do play more man coverage, you can get beat down the field. Like we've seen that could be the thing. And I don't think Dennis Allen wants to play that way. I think we'll see a pretty good mix of everything, but really I don't have a great answer on like how to like totally stop this Packers offense. I think they're going to score points. So that's why, Snyder, I'll take it a step further, that the Bears passing game has to be more in sync and just a better executed group, because I think the Packers are going to be able to score points in this one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They've always had a super efficient run game. Josh Jacobs, I know he was hurt like a game or two, but he's still one of the best running backs in football. The guy just consistently makes people miss, consistently moves the chain, and he's just a guy that you could depend on in a cold weather game in Green Bay. The guy just keeps it moving. You combine that with just the system that LaFleur puts him in. The creativity he has, and again, just the stability that you have with Jordan Love. Again, like you said, I think he's having his best season as far as being efficient. Probably the most consistent he's been thus far in his career. So I mean, again, I will always criticize their pass catchers. I think that's more so just like a GM type of thing. But they're a very well experienced, professionally coached team. That their offense is always going to have a high floor, and I'll never count Matt LaFleur offense out of it. So yeah, I mean their offense still is always going to scare me.
Most definitely. It's definitely, I think, a poor matchup for the Bears defense in this one. And I was also going to say, too, with their run game, we haven't really talked about it. You just brought it up, Snyder. There's a couple things I wanted to note. They run mostly inside runs. They are like a heavy duo team. They want to just totally maul you up front. And I don't think they'll be able to do that. They haven't really been able to do that all season long. They've been okay when you look at efficiency in the run game. Definitely taking a step back from last year. They are just like dead in the middle in terms of rushing offense and EPA per rush. They're more of like a success rate, stay on track type of run game. They're not very explosive. And that's kind of how they want to play. They kind of want to just like progressively march their way up the field with the run game, or lean on it when they're playing with leads. But they're not super creative in that regard. It's very like, again, physical at you runs. And yes, Josh Jacobs is very good. He's very elusive. He's not very explosive. Like, I don't think that's something that's going to be a problem with the Bears, like we saw with the Raiders, where Genti was just ripping off super long runs, and Jahmyr Gibbs the same way. Like, I think the explosives you need to watch out for is in the passing game. That's where the Packers want to build their explosive offense through. They want to kind of lull you with the run game, throw it over your head in the passing game. That's kind of what the Bears will have to be prepared to stop. And I'm curious to see what they do to do that. Like, do they want to drop back, play more zone, make Jordan Love be patient? Maybe that's the best way to approach it. Maybe they don't want to give him those big throws. And he hasn't been as good as a short passer. He's definitely been better, deep, intermediate. And so is that the way you want to make him play? I just struggle to see an effective game plan in that regard, Snyder, because if they do want to sit back, play a little safer, play a lot more zone coverage, how are you quickening up his time to throw?
Right.
Are you like, you're going to have to trick this offensive line. You're going to have to trick their protection, because I just don't think you can line up and be better than the Packers front.
Yeah, I mean, tough matchup, just through and through. Definitely, you're not getting any breaks really anywhere. You can't give him all day to throw, right? Again, he's experienced enough to where you let him sit in that pocket. His deep ball is pretty nice, right? He can make almost any throw on the field. What was it, that Thanksgiving game? The guy has Aiden Hutchinson, whoever else it was, just coming at him, and the guy off his back foot makes a game-winning pass, almost across the middle of the field, hits the guy perfectly in stride, and I think Dobbs makes a play on it, or was it Wicks? Makes a play and hauls it down. But, the guy, he has a lot of arm talent.
Yeah, he does. He's PFF's fourth highest graded deep passer in the NFL right now. I mean, they've been extremely productive on those deep passes. He's completed 25 of his 52 attempts for 831 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. So again, like he's been really effective. Like that's what they want to do. I'm sorry, I read Matthew Stafford's stats. He is 693 deep passing yards, 22 completions on 49 attempts, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He has a 95.7 passing grade on those deep attempts. So again, a 31.6% big time throw percentage on deep passes. So again, like that's a strength of his. That's what this Packers offense wants to do. How do you slow those down? And I think if you dedicate on slowing those down, it's going to be really hard to prevent everything else. Like I think that's when the Packers run game could get going if you're showing a lot of too high safeties and not defending the run. It's funny that I think they defend the run with heavy boxes, the same percentage, the Bears and the Packers. So it's curious to see, like, are the Bears going to want to change up that approach and maybe play for the deep pass more? We shall see. But ultimately, Snyder, the just before we give our final predictions, I think the matchups in this game, or I guess the cruxes of what's going to determine this game, is how do you slow down Micah Parsons? Is that by staying efficient in the run game, being able to play action, slow him down that way, throwing extra bodies, but kind of being sound everywhere else? Because again, you got to worry about the different looks the Packers can build off Micah Parsons if you are giving him so much attention. I'm sure they will. Ozzie Trapilo against Micah Parsons, that's not a matchup you want to see a whole lot of one-on-ones, right? Like they're going to have to give him extra attention, extra help. Basically anyone that has to deal with Micah Parsons. So how do you slow him down? And then is this passing offense, can it be more efficient? Can it be better executed than it's been? And then how do you stop what the Packers want to do on offense? And that's those deep passes, those intermediate passes. I think if the Bears have good game plans for all three of those things, that's how they win this game.
Yeah, again, I think the biggest key to this is keeping yourself in neutral situations. Make this defense continue to guess, right? And I think the Bears did a really good job of that against the Eagles. Do yes. I expect to have 2 100-yard rushers against this team? Probably not, right? So I don't know if you're going to dominate them in that same way that you did. But please, no first down penalties, no second and longs, no third and longs. Keep yourself in second and shorts, third and shorts, and just keep them guessing, right? Don't put yourself where they know you're going to have to pass, right? Because I think they're going to make you pay. So you just have to play a very, very, very disciplined game on offense to keep yourself on favorable downs.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that if the Bears can do that, they'll have a good chance to win this game. I do worry about the defense. I think that's what I'm most concerned about because I just I don't see a whole lot of pass to totally stymie the Packers offense. Look, the Eagles are a good team, they're Super Bowl winning champs, but their offense had a lot of issues, right? I'm not trying to water down anything the Bears defense was able to do, but there was a pretty clear game plan on how you attack this Packer or that Eagles offense because they're having their own issues. That's not the case with this Packers offense. They're a lot more buttoned up. They're a lot more better executed. So that's where I struggle to see kind of where the Bears can take advantage of matchups on that side of the ball. But yes, Steiner, this is going to have to be a mistake-free game from the offense. I think if the Bears end up winning this game, it's going to have to be because of the offense.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right, why don't we give our final predictions? So again, you mentioned, Snyder, the Packers are 7-point favorites at home. Also, too, it probably I didn't want to totally blow past this point. It's probably worth mentioning, talking about some of the injuries that both teams are dealing with in this game. So TJ Edwards has actually practiced the past 2 days. He's been in a limited capacity. I would assume he's going to play in this one if he's able to practice. I mean, I'd be pretty surprised if he didn't play, if he practices all 3 weeks. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure we're going to see more Jalen Johnson. I'm sure we're going to see more Kyler Gordon than we got last week. And those will be really big in this game. Rome Odunze has not practiced. I think that was similar to the Ravens game, or I forgot which game he missed 2 practices and then was limited on Friday and ended up playing. I'm sure if he's able to play, I cannot see him missing this one. If it's just a pain tolerance thing. And then Tyreek Stevenson's also questionable as well. So those three players will be huge if the Bears are able to get them back. Well, not get them back. With TJ Edwards get back, and then Tyreek Stevenson for sure as well. And then Rome Odunze's health, I think, will also be big in this one as well.
Yeah, I think a Dunze coming is going to be huge. I think that's going to be hopefully one that Caleb, can kind of have that safety blanket with him as far as being the most dependent man beater. So yeah, I think Rome will play, and I think it's going to be a huge matchup for him.
Yeah, I said that the Packers are the worst defense in the NFL defending intermediate passes. I think Rome Odunze is the best intermediate receiver the Bears have. So yeah, having him will be really huge in this game. All right, Sutter, why don't we give our final predictions? Who do you have winning this game? Give me a score prediction, and why do you think they're going to win?
Yeah, I do think the Packers end up winning this game. I think it's going to be 31-24. Packers win this one at home, but I do think the Bears get their get back the next time they play them, as again they keep growing as an offense. But yeah, I do think the Packers are they're at home, and yeah, I'm not sure if the Bears get this one.
I feel the same way, and a similar score prediction. I'm thinking like 17-28, something like that. Like I just think until I see a more cohesive passing attack from the Bears, I'm not gonna just expect them to figure it out overnight, because that's just, I don't know, it's not realistic to me. I think there's still going to be mistakes. I still think there's going to be issues that will ultimately hold them back from winning this game. I agree, Snyder. I think they will get a win against the Packers later on in the season, but I think I need to see it to believe it, to like confidently pick the Bears. Look, if their passing game gets on track, they can win this game. No doubt about it. They can win this game, and my tune will totally change, but I kind of need to see that before I'm willing to bet my prediction on the podcast that they're going to win this game. So I also think the Packers are going to win, but not to fear. I definitely think that this will not change much, and the Bears will still be in the mix to win this division. They don't have as hard of a schedule as it looked closing it out. So yeah, I think the Packers will win this game, and the Bears will have an opportunity to beat them in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I couldn't be more fired up about this game. It's no one expected for us to be in this situation where we're the 1 seed. We're 9-3 going into Lambeau at this point. I mean, I'm again not ruling the Bears out at all. The passing attack can get in sync, and it unlocks an element that we actually haven't seen. Just a clean game from start to finish. The Bears can take care of business, and if we're 10-3, number 1 seed, and kind of coasting at the top of the division, it's going to be one of the best feelings we've ever had as a Bears fan about the team. Way better than 2018, way better than any Lovie Smith era, because we have a way more complete team and a coach with an offensive mind, and hopefully the quarterback could really get into his own. I mean, that's still the untapped potential that we haven't seen, but it's not crazy to say that can be an unrealistic outcome, that they do figure it out.
I'm sure that's going to be the focal point of this. I'm sure it has been in practice, like just to get that passing game down.
Right.
They talked about it all week, and I think Ben Johnson knows in this game specifically, it really needs to be hammered out. So if it is, I think the Bears can beat anybody, and I think they'll have as good of a chance as against anyone in this Packers game as well. So I totally with you, Snyder. I'm definitely still very optimistic with where the Bears are at and where they'll end up at the end of the year. So. All right, y'all, that's going to be it for us today. We'll be back to hopefully preview a Bears W. But until we meet again, keep it real. Bear down.
Bear down.